Devin Neal is a versatile slashing running back with size and speed. He's incredibly explosive through the line and is nearly impossible to take down the open field once he has a head of steam. He's one of the most underrated running backs in a class full of future stars. He's going to be the sleeper to watch and a guy who could emerge as the surprise success story from this class. Watch him rise up rankings the closer we get to draft weekend. But before we dig too deep into the Devin Neal scouting report, let's take a closer look at his journey. Devin Neal was a 4-star recruit out of Lawrence, Kansas. There he was a star in both football and baseball. As a senior, he rushed for 1,327 yards and 20 touchdowns on his way to first-team All-State. Neal received just 5 college offers from Kansas, Iowa, Kansas State, Nebraska, and Oklahoma State. He signed on with Kansas to play both football and baseball as part of the 2021 class. After just 7 games on the diamond, Devin Neal opted to walk away from baseball and focus on football. In his true freshman season, Devin Neal ran 158 times for 707 yards and 8 touchdowns in 12 games. He followed that up with 1,090 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns on 180 carries in 2022. He added another 183 yards and a score on 21 receptions while starting 12 of 13 games. Devin Neal's game continued to improve in his junior season when he nearly reached 1,500 total yards on 203 carries and 25 receptions in 2023. He finished the year with 17 total touchdowns and he was second team All Big 12. Neal opted to return to school for his senior season in 2024, where he started all 12 games and took his 216 carries for 1,266 yards and 16 touchdowns. He again added a score through the air while amassing 254 receiving yards on 24 receptions. Devin Neal now heads to the NFL as Kansas's all-time leader in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, as well as most career 100-yard games. He's entering the draft as a 21-year-old senior, and he's listed at 5'10", 220 pounds. Let's talk about the positives, the things that we like in Devin Neal's profile. The first is he's elusive. Good luck trying to take this guy down the open field. He's got moves for days. He's also got great vision. He's explosive and he has great acceleration, which means that once he finds that lane, once he identifies the hole in the defense that he wants to run through, he plants, he cuts, and he goes. He explodes through that line. He's got great burst, and he gets up to his top speed very quickly. Good luck to any defense that gives him an open lane to run through. He's going to take it, and he's probably going to take the ball a long way. On the negative side, Devin Neal struggles a little bit in pass protection. It's definitely an area of his game he's going to have to improve in the NFL if he's going to be a 3-down running back. He's also inconsistent in converting in short yardage situations, which is kind of surprising considering he's 220 pounds. You would expect more power, more strength in those legs in his game from a guy of that size with that frame. I mean, he's not terrible in those situations. It's just kind of hit or miss for Devin Neal. And it's kind of the same thing when we talk about his long speed. He's got that excellent initial burst, initial acceleration. He gets up to speed very quickly, but that top gear just isn't really there. He'll break off chunk plays. He'll give you some big runs, but converting that all the way to a house call, probably not going to happen very often, especially at the NFL level. For archetype, Devin Neal is a one-cut slasher. Doesn't really have that power like we talked about, but he's really good at what he does as the style of runner that he is. He's got a lot of Miles Sanders in his game, which isn't a bad thing. I know the last few years of Miles Sanders' career have been extremely underwhelming, extremely disappointing. The Panthers gave him that awful contract, and he just fell flat on his face. And that's what we're remembering Miles Sanders as, but he had some really strong years early in his career. He earned that contract. His last year in Philadelphia was very productive. The Miles Sanders career would be an excellent outcome for Devin Neal. Draft weekend, this is a guy who's kind of tough to put the finger on. Some people think he's going to go day 2. Others think he could fall as far as the 5th round. So I'm going to project him as somewhere between that 3rd and 4th round range. If he goes on day 2, it'll probably be pretty late in the round 3. If not, he'll probably be pretty early on day 3. So it's a really strong class with a lot of really good running backs, and Devin Neal is one of them. It's going to come down to basically team preference. And taking a deeper dive into the numbers for Devin Neal, he's got some impressive ones. He checks the boxes across the board. 1.98 yards per team play in his best season of 2024. That's an excellent number. That's in that range that a lot of these elite running backs hit, telling us that Devin Neal is highly involved in the offense and he's highly efficient when he's getting those opportunities. He also accounted for 38.6% of the touchdowns scored in the Kansas offense in 2024. That's another excellent number from Devin Neal. Another big check mark for him. And same thing with a 13.6% reception share. It's a guy who can get it done in the passing game. The Kansas coaching staff identified that and made it a point to get him the ball in that area of his game as well. The bottom line is Devin Neal is a versatile running back who wins with short area speed, burst, and acceleration. He's a slasher with the build of a power running back. He might not run over you like most other 220-pounders, but he's incredibly difficult to bring down in open space. Devin Neal uses his quick footwork, agility, and natural instincts to make tacklers miss with ease. He's a patient runner with good vision and great change of direction ability. Once he identifies a lane, he puts his foot in the ground and he goes. And that's when he's most exciting. His short bursts of speed, acceleration, and explosion are almost unmatched. He will then creatively work his way to the next level and use his contact balance to keep the play alive through multiple tackle attempts. And once he makes it into the secondary, Devin Neal has enough speed to create chunk plays. However, he does get caught from behind more often than not. The next level breakaway speed just isn't there. And in short yardage, Devin Neal won't always be the most effective option at the NFL level either. We could see him subbed out for a bigger back at the goal line. He has the frame to do it, but he's lacking in effective play strength and power to routinely convert on those opportunities. And in the passing game, Devin Neal was productive enough at Kansas to think he can add some value there in the NFL as well. However, he did have some drop issues at times and will need to improve in pass protection if he's going to stay on the field for all three downs. Instead, we're likely to see a guy who can and will catch a number of passes, but will typically be subbed out in obvious passing situations. Still, Devin Neal will be able to get his share of targets on early down screens, swings, and checkdowns. If he were somehow able to develop this area of his game, though, he would bring a lot of upside as a receiver, given his athleticism and open field elusiveness. Projecting to the NFL, Devin Neal will likely begin his career as a high-end, change of pace back, or an RB2. He'll be a versatile player in terms of what he can do on the field, as well as the schemes that he can operate in. He will likely come off the board in the 4th round of the NFL draft with a chance to squeeze into the back end of the 3rd. And in Dynasty, he is one of many talented running backs in this year's class. Combine performance and draft capital will go a long way to determine his final ranking, but Devin Neal is looking like a solid option in the 2nd or 3rd round of your rookie drafts.